Hi, today I have a reading from A Course in Miracles. This is Chapter 8, The Journey Back, Section 4, The Gift of Freedom. Okay, paragraph 1. If God's will for you is complete peace and joy, unless you experience only this, you must be refusing to acknowledge His will. His will does not vacillate, being changeless forever. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. Yet He is all in all. His peace is complete, and you must be included in it. His laws govern you because they govern everything. You cannot exempt yourself from His laws, although you can disobey them. Yet if you do, and only if you do, you will feel lonely and helpless, because you are denying yourself everything. So back to when you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him, in God. Or if you don't want to use the God word, you could just say encompassed within the benign and peaceful nature of everything that is real. You could substitute the word reality for God. There are things that are real and there are things that are not real. If you're not religiously inclined and you're God allergic, which I felt myself to be this way for a while, then you might want to make the distinction. I'm going to clear the decks, clear the table, but there are things that are real and there are things that are unreal. And if you can try to remember and become aware of yourself as you are with everyone else, and remember that as we are totally benign, and that's the reality. That's what you can substitute for God. Something prior to and beyond any idea of opposites entering the scene. And we are totally held and supported and uplifted by, encompassed within what I call God, but you don't have to use that word for it. If you have a memory of a past where it seems the word was misused or you were misled about God being anything less than real and benign and present everywhere and helpful in every way, then use a different word. Because there is something very loving here all the time, and that's God, and you are in God. So whenever we're having trouble, that's our ability to stop is everything. We can stop to remember, I am in God. If I am in God, so is everyone else. If I am in God, I have guidance. If I have guidance, so does everyone else. The ego might be trying to send me a lot of positive and negative thoughts about everyone and everything in this situation, but I really do need to let all of this die down, because the ego can't know anything about anything. The ego sees everything as separate, and separate is exactly what everything cannot be. So we have to allow all that to die down and to say, somehow from this being within God, held, protected, loved, whatever I need to think or do can become apparent to me. When you are not at peace, it can only be because you do not believe you are in Him. So we often think, I'm not at peace because of some condition in the world, because of something a person is doing or not doing, or a government is doing or not doing. I'm not at peace because of some defect within myself, which I either have to work hard to change or which I have to lament because it is unchangeable. That's not why. It's because we don't remember, we don't believe that we're in God. And if we look at it that way, in this moment that I believe the government's at fault, I have forgotten that I'm in God. And every aspect of what I believe to be the government is also in God. And because there's only one thing, encompassed by one thing, held by one thing extending forever. That's the truth of us. That's what we can remember and become aware of. Okay, paragraph 2. I am come If you don't usually listen to this and you're not familiar with it, A Course in Miracles, the I is Jesus. So A Course in Miracles was scribed by Helen Schuckman, and the author is Jesus. Okay, so I am come as a light into a world that does deny itself everything. It does this simply by dissociating itself from everything. It is therefore an illusion of isolation, maintained by fear of the same loneliness that is its illusion. I said that I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. That is why I am the light of the world. If I am with you in the loneliness of the world, the loneliness is gone. You cannot maintain the illusion of loneliness if you are not alone. My purpose, then, is still to overcome the world. I do not attack it, but my light must dispel it because of what it is. Light does not attack darkness, but it does shine it away. If my light goes with you everywhere, you shine it away with me. The light becomes ours, and you cannot abide in darkness any more than darkness can abide wherever you go. The remembrance of me is the remembrance of yourself and of him who sent me to you. So back to light does not attack darkness, but it does shine it away. Good news. You are the light because Jesus is the light, and together you are the Christ, and together with everyone and everything we are all the Christ, and we are the light. And what can this light do? Shine darkness away. So we wanted to see illusions, and it seems that we're still caught up in seeing and experiencing and hearing and touching and tasting and feeling all of these illusions we wanted to see. But what are you really? You're the light, and therefore you can shine illusion away. And prior to illusion being shined away comes a shiny illusion, a very benign and loving illusion. So if you still feel attached to illusion, that's okay, because that's how you get weaned off it. It gets transformed into a very benign illusion, and then you see you never needed it. Light does not attack darkness, but it does shine it away. There's no need for attack. And if we see attack in our world, it seems I saw attack in my world yesterday because I saw some footage of the Oval Office. Is that where they were? J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Mr. Zelensky. Why can't I remember his first name anyhow? The three of them were together, and it seemed like there was attacking. And I'm seeing what I want to see. We always have to remember that. So do I want to see the Christ in those three brothers and know that anything I see on top of the light of the Christ is the illusion I wanted to see, and it's nothing, and I don't have to give it any meaning and value or power? Or do I want to treat the fear I'm projecting on all three of my brothers? Do I want to treat that as real and significant and powerful? Which do I want to give the power to? The Christ and the three of them, the innocence, the purity, the brotherhood with me, in the three of them, or in the illusion of attack? Which one do I want to regard as powerful and here and present with me? I can always make that choice. Each one of us is so powerful because we can always make that choice, and we can be aware that light has no need to attack. It just shines the darkness away. And it's handy to remember the darkness, like the seeming attack, is only there because I want to see it. So I am kind of bumbling about, confused in time and space, but it can be very direct for my confusion to get cleared up. I learn to see in this different way. The Christ in them is more apparent to me than is any illusion of attack. Okay, paragraph 3. You were in darkness until God's will was done completely by any part of the sonship. When this was done, it was perfectly accomplished by all. How else could it be perfectly accomplished? My mission was simply to unite the will of the sonship with the will of the Father by being aware of the Father's will myself. This is the awareness I came to give you, and your problem in accepting it is the problem of this world. Dispelling it is salvation, and in this sense I am the salvation of the world. The world must therefore despise and reject me, because the world is the belief that love is impossible. If you will accept the fact that I am with you, you are denying the world and accepting God. My will is His, and your decision to hear me is the decision to hear His voice and abide in His will. As God sent me to you, so will I send you to others, and I will go to them with you so we can teach them peace and union. And isn't that interesting how that happens mind to mind? It can seem to happen physically, but it's very interesting how this can seem to happen mind to mind. And just by thinking of someone, you share peace and union. It's a very beautiful, very powerful thing. So if you will accept the fact that I am with you, you are denying the world and accepting God. We can accept the fact that Jesus is with us. And if you have trouble with that, you may have been given another form. For example, Lao Tzu. Or maybe for you it's more general, Holy Spirit. Or maybe it's some other non-physical presence that seems to have come to you, and you were aware that you were present with and being guided by something benign and loving and powerful. Whoever it is, it's with you now. It's always a presence with you because you cannot be alone. And being very stubborn in remembering this has been helpful to me. I cannot be alone. I am never alone. And it's not like it's a nosy, intrusive presence. It's a loving presence that overlooks everything that we consider to be an error. So if we think in the human sense, I don't want someone constantly with me because I need some privacy. Well, that loving presence overlooks everything you would call an error. So all they can see is the Christ in you. Like we look toward the Christ in Vance and Zelensky and Trump. That's all they see, and that's how you're going to learn to see everybody. You're going to, if you're not already doing it, and thank you if you are, you're going to overlook all of the errors in your vision of them. And I see attack, I see this, I see that, I can't see the Christ. You're going to look toward your awareness that they are the Christ, that they are the purity, that they are the innocence. You're going to remember for them and for yourself, and share that everywhere. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're up to here. If you will accept the fact that I am with you, you are denying the world and accepting God. It's okay to deny the world by turning toward Jesus and accepting that He is with us, or whatever you're going to call it, however it's going to appear to you. But since I'm reading from A Course in Miracles, I'll say Jesus. We're all the Christ. Fred is the Christ. Mary is the Christ. Everyone's the Christ. No matter who shows up for you, it's the Christ showing up for you. And it's okay to deny the world, to accept God and just put God in charge of everything. If I'm going to see a world, let it be a world that God is in charge of. Let it be a world where the goodness of God, which means the goodness of what is actually real, can extend from everyone and everything I encounter today. Let it be that. Okay, paragraph 4. Do you not think the world needs peace as much as you do? Do you not want to give it to the world as much as you want to receive it? For unless you do, you will not receive it. If you want to have it of me, you must give it. Healing does not come from anyone else. You must accept guidance from within. The guidance must be what you want, or it will be meaningless to you. That is why healing is a collaborative venture. I can tell you what to do, but you must collaborate by believing that I know what you should do. Only then will your mind choose to follow me. Without this choice, you could not be healed, because you would have decided against healing, and this rejection of my decision for you makes healing impossible. So back to, I can tell you what to do, but you must collaborate by believing that I know what you should do. So there's ego telling us what we should do, and here's Jesus, who can also tell us what we should do. And when I experience stress, I am believing that I should do what ego tells me what to do, or that I don't know and I can't hear what to do. But actually, Jesus is always here, and Jesus can always tell me what to do. And that's just a simple fact. We've practiced very hard not to hear this, not to be aware of it, and to prize the voice of what seems like our separate self saying what we should and shouldn't do, and what we want and what we do not want. But in every moment we can remember Jesus is here and can tell us what to do, and that actually brings happiness to us and everyone we see. Then it becomes easier to receive and be aware of this guidance. Okay, paragraph 5. Healing reflects our joint will. This is obvious when you consider what healing is for. Healing is the way in which the separation is overcome. Separation is overcome by union. It cannot be overcome by separating. The decision to unite must be unequivocal, or the mind itself is divided and not whole. Your mind is the means by which you determine your own condition, because mind is the mechanism of decision. It is the power by which you separate or join and experience pain or joy accordingly. My decision cannot overcome yours, because yours is as powerful as mine. If it were not so, the sons of God would be unequal. All things are possible through our joint decision, but mine alone cannot help you. Your will is as free as mine, and God himself would not go against it. I cannot will what God does not will. I can offer my strength to make yours invincible, but I cannot oppose your decision without competing with it and thereby violating God's will for you. So, just to look at again, I can offer my strength to make yours invincible, but I cannot oppose your decision without competing with it and thereby violating God's will for you. So Jesus is never going to be in competition with the decision we've made to decide that ego tells us what to do. He'll just wait until we're ready. And then the guidance is always here. And when we're not feeling good, we can remember that Jesus can give us his strength, which is invincible. There's nothing against that strength, because it's the only thing that's real. Love is our shared strength, and everybody shares it equally. And when I'm willing to see that shared strength in everyone, then I'm looking toward what's real and what's here. I can offer my strength to make yours invincible, but I cannot oppose your decision without competing with it and thereby violating God's will for you. So we're free. We're free to listen to ego and experience the illusions that come from that. Or we're free to listen to Jesus, or whatever cultural form of the voice for God, or the voice for reality, the voice for love is going to come to us and guide us through and out of what we have imagined. When we calm down and get sane, we realize the only way through this is to listen to my guidance. So That's what today is for consistently tuning in and tuning in and tuning in to the guidance and doing our best to opening up and listening and following it. In any moment where we feel stress is a moment where we've definitely turned away from that opportunity, so we can stop to turn back in that direction. There is guidance here for me. It doesn't come from the ego, and I'll pause and make room for it to speak to me. Okay, paragraph 6. Nothing God created can oppose your decision, as nothing God created can oppose his will. God gave your will its power, which I can only acknowledge in honor of his. If you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. I can teach you, but only you can choose to listen to my teaching. How else can it be if God's kingdom is freedom? Freedom cannot be learned by tyranny of any kind, and the perfect equality of all God's sons cannot be recognized through the dominion of one mind over another. God's sons are equal in will, all being the will of their Father. This is the only lesson I came to teach. So freedom cannot be learned by tyranny of any kind. And the perfect equality of all God's sons cannot be recognized through the dominion of one mind over another. So this is not a dominance thing. And when ego doesn't want to listen, to pause and stop and listen, it's the idea that ego doesn't want anyone else to be in charge. But we all share one sane mind, and we can find our willingness to tune into the one sane mind we share with Jesus and with everyone. We really only share one mind. All the separate and conflicting minds we've imagined on top of that are just imagination. So we can choose to tune into the level of mind that's shared in here all the time and allow everything we think and do and say to come from that. And if we wandered away from that guidance, we know because we don't feel good. So then we can pause and stop and reset and turn back toward it again. Thank goodness it's very simple. It's very simple. So that part is not hard to follow. Freedom cannot be learned by tyranny of any kind, and the perfect equality of all God's sons cannot be recognized through the dominion of one mind over another. Tyranny is a word I've heard people say lately as it refers to our political landscape, and people can seem to paste it on this situation or that situation, and people on both sides can use it to apply it to each other. The important thing is, if I'm seeing a world in which the word tyranny is being used as an accusation, this is the world I wanted to see. A world in which we believe we're victims of tyranny, and we believe we can impose tyranny upon one another. But if I just sit still and see anyone using the word tyranny in what appears to be an accusatory way toward another, if I see them as an accuser, it's because I myself haven't given up the idea of myself as an accuser or an accusee. And so I'm seeing it over there in them because I'm trying so hard to project it out of myself. But if I remember that if somebody's using the word tyranny and it seems like they're making a picture of being a victim or an aggressor, of anyone being a victim or aggressor, that's only the illusion on top that I wanted to see, and that's why I'm seeing it, because I wanted to see it. Will I see the Christ in them? Will I see what's equal to and the same as me? Because that is what I can see in them. So when I'm tuned in at the level of our sane and shared mind, I don't have to think particular things about them. I'm really tuned in at the level of our sameness. So there are all these different and conflicting minds on the surface that I have imagined and I can experience in that way. but tuned into the sane mind we all share. Everybody shares that sane mind. Then I'm not in a place where one mind dominates another mind. I'm in the place of shared mind. And whenever I've left this place of shared mind, I feel it. So I can just return to it. Here's shared mind. And I can return to it with a willingness to have every thought come from this place, every action, every word, everything come from our sane, loving, shared mind. Okay, paragraph 7. If your will were not mine, it would not be our Father's. This would mean you have imprisoned yours and have not let it be free. Of yourself you can do nothing, because of yourself you are nothing. I am nothing without the Father, and you are nothing without me. I'll just have to turn my Kindle back on. Okay. I found it. Because by denying the Father, you deny yourself. I will always remember you, and in my remembrance of you lies your remembrance of yourself. In our remembrance of each other lies our remembrance of God. And in this remembrance lies your freedom, because your freedom is in Him. Join then with me in praise of Him and you whom He created. This is our gift of gratitude to Him, which He will share with all His creations, to whom He gives equally whatever is acceptable to Him. Because it is acceptable to Him, it is the gift of freedom, which is His will for all His sons. By offering freedom, you will be free. Of yourself, you can do nothing, because of yourself, you are nothing. So by myself, as a separate entity, I am nothing. That doesn't exist. So by himself, as a separate entity, Zelensky is nothing. He doesn't exist. By himself, as a separate entity, Vance is nothing. He doesn't exist. By himself, as a separate entity, Trump is nothing. He doesn't exist, but he does exist. I exist, you exist, they exist, but only as one. So how could one be unjustly treated and one be the unjust treater if they're exactly the same one? We wanted a fantasy, a vision in which, an experience in which we could be the unjustly treated and the aggressor who treats unjustly, in which we could be the victims, in which we could be the aggressors. And we got it, we experienced it, but it's nothing. And the seemingly separate characters who seem to suffer or gain benefit from aggression and victimhood, all made up, all nothing. But what's the something? The something is the Christ. The something is the connection. The something is the oneness. The something is what's shared. The something is the same mind we all share. Of yourself you can do nothing. So we have a perception that separate selves do separate things, and that's okay, because that illusion can be used by spirit as we're led through and out of the nightmare we imagined. If you notice you don't feel good today, that's how you know it's a nightmare that you've imagined. And I do need to be led through and out of it. I do need to recognize it's a nightmare I imagined. Of yourself you can do nothing, because of yourself you are nothing. So you're never by yourself. There's never just you. You're always with. And what's with you is the purity and innocence of every being. Forget the persons and the especially good and bad characteristics they seem to have. Look toward the being. There's the purity. There's the goodness without opposite. And so we learn to look steadily toward this and ignore any fear we're projecting upon anything. We look through the fear we've projected to the love that's actually here and actually real. Okay, paragraph 8. Freedom is the only gift you can offer to God's sons, being an acknowledgement of what they are and what He is. Freedom is creation because it is love. Whom you seek to imprison, you do not love. Therefore, when you seek to imprison anyone, including yourself, you do not love him and you cannot identify with him. When you imprison yourself, you are losing sight of your true identification with me and with the Father. Your identification is with the Father and with the Son. It cannot be with one and not the other. If you are part of one, you must be part of the other because they are one. The Holy Trinity is holy because it is one. If you exclude yourself from this union, you are perceiving the Holy Trinity as separated. You must be included in it because it is everything. Unless you take your place in it and fulfill your function as part of it, the Holy Trinity is as bereft as you are. No part of it can be imprisoned if its truth is to be known. Whom you seek to imprison, you do not love. I can imprison you with an evaluation, even with a positive evaluation. So let's say I call you talented, and there's an expectation that you need to keep showing up as talented next to others. You could only be talented by comparison, right? There have to be some untalented in order for you to show up as a physical, talented character. And then there'd be the expectation that if you're this talented one, you need to consistently show up as a talented one, and that becomes your identity. I am talented while others are untalented. And this is how we imprison ourselves and others. And we have expectations. I might have a negative expectation. I expect you to show up as brash and rude because I have a memory of interacting with a person, and I believe that person's a separate entity unto itself and has specific and consistent characteristics. And so I believe that this body is going to continue to be brash and rude because I have decreed it, I have declared it, I've internalized it, I expect it. I formed an expectation. I have to take responsibility. But what is the Christ? The Christ is always kind. The Christ is always gentle. The Christ is always strong. The Christ is always powerful. The Christ is always beautiful. And this doesn't have much to do with an analysis of physical beauty that can be very confusing. So for now, I'm just instructed to set that aside. Can Spirit use the illusion of beauty? Yes. But we're very confused right now, so it's better not to. It's much better for me to look toward our sameness than it is for me to attempt to analyze difference and say, this one is physically beautiful and this one is physically not beautiful, so therefore I understand what's going on in this separate mind as opposed to that separate mind. The minds aren't separate. The one shared mind is our beauty that we share. Beauty is shared. And if I'm looking at a world in which it's not shared, then there's the problem in my mind right there. And so I need help. So the only true things about us are true about all of us and present right now. Whom you seek to imprison, you do not love. We cannot love separate characters. So if I say, I love character A, but I really dislike character B, that's not real love for character A. That's hate and fear, just as much as the dislike of character B is hate and fear. But good news, you love being A as much as being B. You love them both, wholly and equally, because you're being C. And it's just one beingness. You could call it being 1, being 2, being 3, being 4. Doesn't matter. It's still one being. That being is love and extends forever from the source of love, which you could call God if you want to. We all extend from that forever, and we are love, we are light, and we're not separate characters. We pretend to be, and we use thought to give ourselves experiences as if we are separate characters. But while we're playing this game of showing up as separate characters, we can remember how alike we are and how powerful and strong and innocent we are. But we can't make a single exception. So take the person who's really a being, we've just projected a person surface on them, who seems to be in prison for a terrible crime, you have to share the goodness and beauty you are with them, or you have no goodness and beauty. It has to be everyone, because there's only one being. That's the only way back to sanity, is through the mind we share with everyone. Unfortunately, we do share that mind with everyone, and it's a sane mind, and it's full of everything you could ever want: abundance, innocence, happiness, joy, purity, and it's accessible to everyone right now. And as you look at it, our shared sane mind, you open up access to everyone and everything. So everyone and everything gets to dip into this abundant resource. Take some practice, but that's what today is for. And extend that beauty and light and abundance everywhere. So this is our job today. It's a happy job. It's a wonderful job. I hope you enjoy it. And I will be doing my work on this end. Thank you. Happy healing.